We got a call out of the blue from Kevin Costner's company, and he was going to do this Western called Dancing with Wolves. First film he was going to direct. So he called us in, and he said, well, listen, I saw the cadavers you did for Gross Anatomy, so if you can do dead bodies, you can definitely do dead buffaloes.
Obviously, it's illegal to shoot and kill animals for motion pictures, and they had some very specific things they wanted to do. We needed to make 2 mechanical buffaloes for a buffalo hunt to simulate the actual arrows and bullet hits that are going into the buffalo hides. Then there were the other buffaloes, I want to say 23 buffaloes, and they were made so that their hides were removable. During the construction, I got a phone call from the production designer. And he said, we're using actual buffalo hides here, and we understand you're using artificial fur. And I said, well, of course we're using artificial fur. It's, you know, we don't want to use actual animal hides in making these things. And, you know, working with the skins and all that stuff would be very difficult for us, and this will be easy. He said, well, it's never going to match. It's never going to match. In a million years, it's not. I said, well, trust me. I said, I'm going to do a great job. It's going to look nice. You'll see. I don't believe you. So I said, well, send me a buffalo hide, and I'll shoot pictures side by side. So the buffalo hide came in, the artificial fur came in. I looked at the two, and I went, okay. Took and I used some fabric paints and things that we use, and I made it, you know, painted them about the same. And I looked at them, and I was about to put the labels on, and I went, huh? And I reversed them. I took a picture and I sent it to the production designer. Well, I got a call. Oh my God! That artificial buffalo fur looks terrible. It's not real. It's awful. It's this and that, the other thing. I said, I knew you were going to say that. I switched the tags, and there was silence on the other end of the phone. And I said, I'll see you out in South Dakota when we're ready to go. And that was that. I never had another problem with it.
Through a friend of mine, Scotty Spiegel, one of the co-writers on Evil Dead 2, I met the K&B guys, which was Greg Nicotero and Bob Kurtzman and Howard Berger. And we got to be friends.
And we'd all go see movies at, like, the New Art, you know, and go see The Killer, I remember, and standing in line with Quentin, and then afterwards we'd all go out and eat and all this. So anyhow, we knew that Quentin was a writer, and Bob Kurtzman had this idea for this vampire gangster movie and had written a 25-page outline, but wanted to have a real writer write the script. So he thought, hey, I can probably pay Quentin to do this. This would be great.
And I said, okay, I'll do it for $1,500, and I'll do all that stuff, and I was happy to do that. But I threw a provision in there. And I said, look, I'm going to be making Reservoir Dogs coming up in this next year and a half, and I want you to do the makeup effects on it for free. And Bob said, okay.
So he wrote From Dusk Till Dawn for Bob, and Bob tried to get it going for quite a while.
Nobody liked it. Everyone was saying, you can't go from having this gangster movie to this vampire movie, and it's, you know, it's 2 different movies. This is crazy. Who would ever make a film that's 2 films in one? That doesn't make any sense. It'll never happen.
Quentin gave me a script to read. He'd said, here's something you can do in Mexico. It's something that I first wrote. I don't have the rights to it anymore, but check it out. And I started reading it, and it was terrific, but like there's stuff that he'd already taken out of it, like the Ezekiel speech from Pulp Fiction was in that originally, and there's other gems that he'd already been pulling out, and I thought, you know, a few more years there won't be anything left. If you keep mining it, we better go shoot it quick while we can.
And then the next thing you know, the movie was being made.
Because of a strike that was going on, because we were non-union, actually we had to shoot the second half first. So K&B had to make all of the effects, all the creatures and everything right away, so that we could start with all that. You know, you would think you would shoot it out of order. I mean, shoot it in order so that you could have time to prepare all of that, and shoot all your outdoor stuff first. But we had to start with interior crew stuff before we could go out and shoot the exterior stuff. So the whole second half was done first. So first day was in the bar, and by the end of the first week, we were into vampires and creatures and all of that.
And it was so much fun. It was like literally, you're talking about a bunch of guys that show up to work. There's a bunch of naked girls and blood and vampires and Quentin Tarantino and Harvey Keitel and Robert Rodriguez.
We were shooting downtown in an old Laurie's meat seasoning factory that had been closed down. And it was hot as hell. This was during the summer. No air conditioning. We were all dying. So we had a room that was actually like the meat locker that was off from the sound stage where I set up the makeup room. There were 12 of us, and they're doing hundreds of makeups all day long, just churning.
You know, my makeup took about 3 hours, and it was great getting the makeup on, you know, and getting the long finger. I love the long fingers, you know. And after the makeup's on, an hour after it's on, I'm running around the hallway scaring people, sneaking up behind Rodriguez. You know, and Greg purposely gave me a penis nose. Look at my makeup in Dusk Till Dawn. It's a penis nose because he's my friend. And that's the one.
And it's in there, and every time we look at the picture, he's like, why did you do this?
Up until that point, we had done little things for Quentin, you know, nothing big. Like Reservoir Dogs, a great movie, but for us, it was this ear chop thing, which is rather memorable, and a lot of blood stuff. But we really got to prove ourselves to him on that show, and then it just kind of led into the next shows. And you know, the next gigantic, enormous thing we did with Quentin was obviously Kill Bill, where I think we proved ourselves for a lifetime with him.
I wanted to have the Japanese type of pyrotechnics with like the way the blood would squirt out and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want it to have that horror movie stuff. Even as far as like the color of the blood, we tested all these different bloods. We tested Chinese blood, what they use in Hong Kong and China for bloody scenes. We tested Japanese blood for what they use in their movies, and we tested American blood. And so we went with the Japanese blood. It was great working with Howard Berger, and he knew exactly what it is I wanted. And you know, and he's great because there's no excuses, you know, because there are things that don't work. You know, they don't work half the time actually, but he never has an excuse about it. Just, okay, sorry, we're all waiting. Here we go. Try it again. I don't know what the problem is. Give me 5 minutes to figure it out.
In the last dozen years, we've done every one of Robert's films.
Grindhouse was the most fun I've ever had on a film, for sure. We had a blast.
It was fun just being there. I mean, just being there. One, because of Robert.
I was trying to think what kind of zombies they'd be. It made sense that they would just be sort of infection brought back from the war, that it would be a viral infection. And I had my doctor show me real infections so I could kind of see how could you mix some of these together and have them get out of control. And he said, oh, well, I've got eyeballs, Iraqi eyeballs, and actually in my refrigerator, you know, mustard gas makes them all cloudy. My doctor's kind of out there. I put him in the movie. My doctor is the doctor in the movie that's there with Josh Brolin. And I was just like, oh, these are horrible. So I thought, well, let's just take these and multiply them and have them all happen at a very rapid rate.
It was no holds barred, you know? I mean, that's what Robert wanted, was everything goes, anything goes. And everybody's pretty serious about it, except when you actually get out on the set and you start doing your thing and, you know, the pus pack, you know, they start bursting. They love it, man. They're like little kids.
It was months of doing the disease makeups on the actors, plus all of the effects that we had in the film.
That was a lot for the money and the time that we had. Basically because it was a double feature. Had to save money on mine so that there'd be enough money for Quentin to make his.
It was funny because, you know, Robert uses a lot of CGI in his stuff. And so, and I had never really used CGI before, except maybe to raise a wire or two. So then I wrote a car crash and go, hey, if I'm going to use CGI, I'm going to do some shit I've never seen before. So I thought I would, you know, do this car crash where people are getting torn apart simultaneously. So then I wrote it. Now, Greg knows I can't stand CGI, so he just assumed that he was going to have to build this. And then when he started talking like that, I, you know, all of a sudden, yeah, let's do it in camera. Forget, I didn't tell him I was thinking about CGI. I was like, yeah, he's right. He actually thinks, okay, let's do that. Let's do it that way.
The real challenge was we had to create dummies of each of these girls that could act. Because the idea always was, Quentin said, this is like a crash test dummy movie. I want to see all this stuff in super slow motion.
So we did body scans and live casts of 4 principal actresses who were in the car at the time of the crash.
I can't believe they have this technology, but they got me to get into a circle and make a Da Vinci pose. This ground unit comes around you, slowly drops around you. You can't move for 60 seconds. You have to hold this position, and it takes this perfect image of your body.
What Quentin wanted was very specific stuff, you know, to see a car tire rip through the roof of the car and peel a girl's face off, and to, you know, the girl gets her leg ripped off as she goes flying onto the front window of the car and things like that. There were very specific things, so the actresses had to be cast in the exact positions they were sitting in the car. But then the armatures inside had to be articulated in such a way, too, that they moved like a real human body would move.
So we literally designed armatures that mimicked the human body in terms of skeleton. You know, we had joints that could only move a certain way. If your arm can't bend this way, then the armatures in the puppets didn't bend that way. So we built everything so that it was all loose. We did full silicone bodies.
They made these things look exactly like us.
We shot for 3 days, pulling the bodies apart and ripping the leg off and shooting the dummies through the windshield. And the last gag was the shot where Vanessa's sitting in the back seat. She's the only one that sees the crash coming. So she closes her eyes. So as the wheel comes through and rips through, it rips her face off.
That's one of the things I'm real proud about it is, you know, it's all done in camera. The dummies look really good and you can't tell, and I'm pretty proud of that. But that was all shot on the day. Nothing was added, nothing was taken away. That's just, you know, we shot it on the set that way.
I like going to conventions where you'll have a young kid that will come up and say, oh man, I loved Evil Dead 2 and I'm a big fan of the Romero movies. And you look at them and you go, wow, that was me one day. And they're influenced by movies and sequences that we've had a part in doing. I mean, to me, that's so exciting to be able to influence young filmmakers and young minds.
It's that magic of movies, however that is defined. It's part of the magic that makes you want to do it, you know, when you're a kid, and makes you pursue it as an adult.
These guys love what they do. Any job on a movie is hard work and long hours, but makeup effects guys are constantly working a lot longer than the shooting company is working.
Your inspirations come from everything, all the great old movies, you know, all the great old comic books, and then a good, healthy dose of nightmares.
My generation and, you know, generations before us know who Lon Chaney is, who know all these great makeup artists, Jack Pierce, Cecil Hall, and they're the basis of why we do this.
I am all for, you know, the growth of young people, and if I've been able to, I've helped them a little bit sometimes. There are a number of makeup artists that have grown up as kind of second-generation people, and they have become really better and better until they're now top artists. And that I regard as terrific.